We got a few minutes left to record today, so we're going to do some mailbags. Let's do it.
Okay, mailbags or scrolling Reddit? I've got both. Which one
Oh,
do you
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do?
I guess we're scrolling Reddit. It's not technically a mailbag.
They
We do have a
didn't
bunch of
know.
stuff. We do have answering Brad's question episode coming up again soon, right?
Yeah, that's right. We do. Yeah,
We have
but in
one
this case, it's
fan.
like I'm. Yeah, thank you, Brad. Thank you for writing in, Brad. But yeah, in this case, it's folks writing and putting stuff up on Reddit and not having any idea that we would talk about it. So, though, as I was scrolling through this time, I did find one Redditor had put up a link to our previous Reddit scroll, and somebody has been like had commented like, "Watch out, we're being watched. Heads up."
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, so this one right here opens with "Please help." It says, "I don't even know where to begin. The pipes have made me so unbelievably frustrated recently. I took a fairly long break to try to get away from how angry the pipes made me, and coming back to it, I have just as much venom as before. I'm trying everything I know to do. I have a great piper friend who's been helping me out every now and then, and I'm practicing somewhat consistently. But no matter what, I don't get better, and it doesn't get any easier. Whenever I practice, it absolutely ruins my day. Going from the chanter to the actual pipes feels like a completely new instrument, and I just can't seem to get the hang of it. Am I just unable to play them?"
Wow. By the way, this makes me sad.
It made me feel sad too. I wish I could find this person and tell him it's going to be okay.
I don't think it is going to be okay. I think, if we've gotten to this point, this is a really bad sign, right? So we certainly can't keep doing what we've been doing, right? That's a piece of advice number one. So whatever you've been doing, let's not do that. And then can we go back through some of the details? Like, why specifically are we feeling so frustrated?
Yeah, so it looks
Because
like
we can't
frustration
transfer tunes from the practice chanter to the pipes? Is that why?
that is one of the things that comes up. It is, and maybe that's the main thing, because it says whatever I do, I'm not getting better. Took a break for a while because it was making me frustrated, but now I'm still frustrated. And yeah, I think the most specific thing that comes out of this post is going from the practice chanter to the pipes feels like a completely different instrument.
Yeah. I'm struggling to find the words of what to say that won't make it sound like a sales pitch. So I'm going to give up and I'm just going to make a sales pitch. Step one, get the book. Did you know on the new Dojo website, Finding Bagpipe Freedom is free. You just pay for us to ship it to you.
I didn't know that. Actually, I should have known that.
Yeah, but
Also,
like basically,
it's an audiobook, just in case anybody didn't know. It's an audiobook. That's an option.
you can also
for
get
those
it
of
on
us who
Audible,
like
right?
audiobooks.
Yeah, you can get it on Audible. Yeah, for sure. Or you can just download it. Or you can pay for it and download it on Amazon. So you can do that too. Highly recommended. You can also do both. I don't remember. Is it another $10 to get the audiobook when you get the free book? I don't remember. But definitely check it out. Here's why. This is exactly what we do at the dojo, or exactly what our program is designed to do, is to help people not find themselves in this situation, or to help them work their way out of the situation, which is sadly all too common. There's a lot of nice people out there in the world, and despite how nice they are and how well-meaning they are not effectively teaching people how to play the bagpipes, which, by the way, is an extremely complex thing. It's really difficult. It can be done well and it can be done efficiently, but it's hard.
Yeah, I don't know this person, of course, so I don't know for certain that this is their situation, but a few people who I have known come to mind whom I met partway into their piping journey. And when I realized how poorly set up their instrument was, or that it was, a very poorly made instrument to begin with, how much their bag was leaking, how difficult their reeds were, etc., I was amazed that they had persevered as long as they had. That might be part of what's going on here. In spite of having a good friend that they mentioned who's a good piper, like nothing on them, but there just might be some more involved things that need to happen.
Well, I mean, and it's really not that. It really depends on what the exact symptoms are or what you're really struggling with. For example, if your pipes are not easy to play, okay, if that's among the problems that you're having, check out our Transitioning to the Bagpipes course, which is actually version 2 of our course, because after version 1 came out, a couple of years later, I talked with a guy called Joe Brady from North Carolina, who shared with me some of the tweaks that they had made to our program to teach people how to get on the pipes better and more efficiently. And he was 100% correct. But what the transitioning to the pipes course does is it takes you all the way through that method, step by step. And if you actually do the stuff in that course, your bagpipes will be a joy to play by the end. And it doesn't take that long, and it's not that hard. And it sounds too good to be true. And by the way, maybe it is, but just get the course, and then if you don't like it, we'll give you your money back if you ask within 30 days. It's like pretty easy, but just check it out and try it. It's just it's a course that puts the common sense into operating your bagpipes. So like, that's one thing that you could do. We could go into it and we could explain it, but really that's, at the end of the day, that's what we would want to do for that particular issue. And then if you're having problems with finger work, get involved at the dojo and do the freedom process. Another idea would be to go back to basics. Go do the Piper's Dojo beginner tutor and just like rework through it. Make sure all those elements are in good form again. Just, take a refresher, take a step back, and it'll be worth it. It sounds like, if this person is saying, please help on Reddit, and they're feeling this much, if they're feeling this much emotion about it, that means this is a meaningful thing that they want to be able to do. Okay?
Yeah, they want to make it happen.
Yeah, they want to make it happen. So, just be brave, take some steps backwards, and then look at things the right way. If get a different person to teach you and advise you, right? Don't keep doing the same thing again. And again, it would be no judgment on the person who taught you before. Sometimes they're very well-meaning. Maybe they're even great pipers, and they're just not good teachers. And by the way, they might even be good teachers, but they're not, they haven't put the A to Z together of how to properly teach somebody how to get going on the pipes. It's so common, so common. I would say that 95% of bagpipe teachers I'm aware of are doing their students a disservice. And again, I'm
part of the 95%. I'm aware of this about myself, even that
right. And then, but see, there you go, Jim. You'd be a perfect example. Nicest guy I can think of. Loves piping. Yes. Yeah, you want the best for everyone. You're the nicest guy I know. But
blushing over here.
Yeah, no, but you're also probably great. You're probably a great teacher too. You must be. You hang out with me once a week.
I'd like to think that I'm getting better as I go, but that's, it's also just like variety of instruction, like variety of inputs seems to be good for all of us. And so it's learning styles, it's all kinds of things. But I do wish this person all the best for sure. I hope that they...
Yeah. And again, apologies. I mean, there's no way to really get to the bottom of that without sales pitching, the kind of stuff that we do. But this is the kind of stuff that we do. And so check us out if you don't have any other ideas. But, there's lots of... By the way, 95%, that still leaves a lot of good piping teachers out there. So, find some good ones. And the world is your oyster now with the internet. Although, if you can find a good one that you can see in person on a fairly regular basis, that will help. For sure.
So, let them get a hold of your instrument and walk around you while you're playing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but also you can do it. You can set up your instrument yourself. And ultimately, that's going to be part of what sets you free. Okay. So there you go. Okay. By the way, I feel like there's a lot of people in that situation. The please help me, the please help me, I don't know what to do situation. That's very sad. Just pay shipping, check this out. Right? It'll make you think about things. And it'll help you get your thoughts organized. It will.
As a person, I don't know. I mean, you and Camille wrote the book, but I wonder if I might be the person in the world who has at this point read the book the most. Because of like prepping for these episodes. Like I bet if I added it up, I've gone through it 4 or 5 times now between audiobooks and between the audio and the read with my eyeballs versions, both. Some chapters more like 6 or 7 times. And so I can say it still makes me think about stuff.
Good. Yeah. I mean, at the very least, that would be good. All right. What's our next Reddit?
Moving to something a little bit lighter, just a fun little thing that I personally hadn't really thought of before, so I wondered if you've encountered this. This person says, hide bag cover in practice. For those of you that play hide bags, do you practice with a cover on? Do you store them with a cover on, ever? I've played a Ganaway for years, and it didn't seem to matter. but I'm playing a goatskin bag now, and it seems that most people rarely put a cover on until it's time to compete. It's pretty dry where I'm at, so I don't usually worry too much about trapping moisture in.
Okay.
And so when I read that, I thought to myself, I also play a Ganaway bag. I found, after playing without a cover for a while, and maybe this is just me, my arm sweat was making the leather look gross. And so I put a cover back on. Yeah. But I also am like, oh, do I see goatskin bags without covers often? Or am I only noticing it because goatskin is, it looks kind of distinctive. It's very light colored and stuff. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I thought you said this was going to be light.
Is it not? I thought it was.
This is like one of those questions where the rabbit hole could go infinitely deep. Let's start with the basics. And I would say that if you're going to leave the bag cover on, which, by the way, I generally do. It's off right now.
Checking.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But like, if you're going to be somebody that leaves the bag cover on when you're playing a hide bag, you definitely have to have times where you're taking it off on a fairly regular basis, because sometimes things can get rotten in there and you don't even know it, right? Like, and it's begging, it wants you to take it out and give it more air, but you just don't know. I remember I ruined a sheepskin bag in the span of like 10 days once by doing that. I got a brand new bag.
Quick. Wow.
Yeah, I got a brand new bag and then just started playing it, but I never took the bag cover off, and I was getting sweat all inside it and it never was able to air out, and it was looking totally gross. But I had no idea that it was looking totally gross and rotting. And then eventually the bag cover came off and it was like, oh crap. And I remember this. I was in the SFU pipe band, and Jack and Terry looked at the bag and were like, oh my God, we need a new bag, even though it's only like 10 days old.
Oh, that's rough.
Like, we got to get rid of it. And so that's like, yikes. That was sort of crappy learning experience. So if you are going to keep the bag cover on, you got to make sure to check the hide on a regular basis to make sure that it's doing okay. In wet climates like Scotland, playing with the bag cover off is usually what you see. You know what I mean? And then
so it's like you only put the cover on. It's like a jersey for game day. You put it on when you go compete, but otherwise you got it off, huh?
Kind of, yeah. Or you put your bag cover on like one practice before or something like that. But generally, you want to let the moisture out, and you don't want the bag cover to like lock it in. Especially nowadays, because a lot of the bag covers are fancy now and they have moisture protective coating. They got like a Gore-Tex thing. A lot of the really good bag covers will have that. So then that means you could be locking moisture in the pipes. Okay, so yeah, it's keeping the rain from damaging the bag or whatever, but it's also locking the moisture in and making it harder for it to breathe and harder for it to air out when you're storing the pipes, right?
It's funny that matches my experience wearing Gore-Tex clothing as well. Like, sure, it's keeping me dry from the rain, but wow, I'm sweating a lot inside.
Great. Yeah, it's a great point, isn't it? I mean, that's a great way to think about it. Yeah, so with a hide bag, it's all about keeping the moisture at a healthy level and not letting it get too dry and not letting it get too wet.
Sweet spot.
So, yeah, and so it's a little bit, because if it's too dry, that's bad too. If the bag gets too dry, it doesn't hold air as well, and the tone of the pipes don't sound as good until the moisture works its way back in again. So we don't want to over dry them. So, and the bag cover is just like one of those variables. I mean, maybe by leaving it on, you prohibit the bag from drying out too much, or maybe by leaving it on, you're causing it to not dry out enough. And so you have to be able to use your judgment there. So the rabbit hole could go infinitely deep. And then my advice is probably, like, if you had to just pick and just tell somebody what to do, I would say play with it off and put it on a day or two before, important performances. Something like that.
Okay. Here's another one for you, Andrew. I was going to say this one will be light and quick, but now I'm unsure. This person asked, attaching the palm to a Glengarry. They asked, does anybody have a link to a video tutorial showing how to do this? I'm terrible at sewing. I could use the Braille method on figuring this out, but it would save me some time and heartache to have an instructional. But that made me wonder, do we have to have those silly little puffballs on our Glengarrys? Why are those there?
I feel like this would be like a question for the Wee Two Twag. Maybe
he could tell us about the history of the Glengarry.
He must know the history of the little ball, the little fuzzy Santa Claus reindeer ball on the top of the Glengarry.
He's talked about bluebonnets before. I wonder if we could convince him to do a deep dive on Glengarry's. Am I the only one who has used it like a Muppet mouth? And that little ball's like the tongue,
Right. I mean, maybe that's what it's for. I don't know. But yeah, as far as how to sew it on, this is the wrong podcast for that. I could not tell you. I think if mine fell off, I would probably just use a bobby pin to put it back on. Like, one of those little baby pin things. And then I would probably never get around to changing it, and I would just leave it like that forever.
I'll admit, I kind of helped mine fall off, and it's just never gone back on again.
I know.
But that's just for my own personal play. No deportment problems, I hope. Speaking of being the wrong podcast, and this one, you tell me, Andrew, if you want me to edit this out, but I thought it would be funny. Like, we're obviously the right people to be addressing this issue. This piper on Reddit says, for the ladies. That's us, right?
That's us. Yeah,
Hi.
That's us.
Hi, they say. So another female student and I are trying to figure out how to manage an issue. For those that are well endowed, bagpipe placement seems a bit tricky. I was working with my teacher last night and we were joking about boobage. What do you folks do to help get that chanter to be more centered? And here's the thing. Mostly I grabbed this, I thought, what a great joke about we'll address this. Like, let us mansplain how to play bagpipes as a woman. I thought that could be a funny joke. But also it occurred to me maybe the goal to get the chanter centered is actually the problem. Is form to pull the chanter to the center of the body, or is form to stretch the right arm across and let it be off to the side?
Okay. Yeah. So, this is outside of my comfort zone, Jim, for sure.
Okay. We can cut this
I
one
will
then.
say, no, we don't have to cut it. Here's what I'll say. The underlying golden rule about bagpipe posture is that we want our bagpipes to fit our body. Okay. And rather than changing our body to try to fit our bagpipes, if you have a different bodily shape that can make it difficult to achieve good bagpipe posture, let's try to figure out how to adjust the bagpipe so that it's possible to work with this. For example, there are different cuts of pipe bags that you could order, like maybe like a Livingston extended small or something, right? That might give you a little bit more room to maneuver, let's say, in certain situations and stuff like that. And then, we just want it to be comfortable. The other thing, we want the chanter in the center of the body, for sure. That's what we want. But, if it's an inch or an inch and a half over to the left and that's what's comfortable for you, then let's do that. So, it is a question I know some women struggle with, is getting the pipes to feel comfortable. But maybe we should have someone on to discuss this that would know more about this, because
I think you and I are the right people to address it, Andrew, right?
Yeah, I have moobs, but I don't think I'm like well endowed in the same respect.
Gotcha. Yeah. You have a heart out, Andrew. Do you need to drop off? Or
I do have to drop off exactly now.
Well, that's the perfect place to end it for today.
Yep. I have moobs, but that's about all.
That's what we've been working toward this whole episode. I'm glad we arrived.
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to get rid of the moobs. Like, how do you go from moobs to pecs? That's what we got to find out. That's the real question.
Thing we got to figure out. I'll start doing my research. Come back here with an answer next week.
Less breakfast sandwiches, I'm thinking.
That's it.
Hey everybody, Andrew Douglas here from the Piper's Dojo, and I just want to say thanks so much for listening to today's iteration of the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, it would be super helpful to us and to a lot of bagpipers out there trying to find us. If you could give us a top-notch review on whatever platform you're using to listen to this podcast, particularly Apple, iTunes, and Spotify and things like that, your review would be really, really helpful. So if you have a moment today, definitely go over there and help us out. Other than that, until we meet again on the podcast or somewhere else, thanks again for listening.